Newcastle have beaten Arsenal 3 times in a row at St James's Park. Is it going to happen again? This is football, fast, no faff. Let's go Route 1. We've got a full preview of the weekend fixtures for you today. We'll get to them in a bit. First of all, though, the results from last night. Aston Villa scored their first home goal of the season and won their first game. They beat Bologna 1-0 at Villa Park. Rangers, though, they were beaten at home by Genk. They reduced to 10 men in the first half. That's their 3rd red card of the season. It really is pretty bleak over there. Porto, they snatched a very late win at Salzburg. Lyon and Lille beat Utrecht and Bram respectively, and the only big score of a really quiet night was Panathinaikos, who put 4 past Young Boys. In Spain, Barcelona came from a goal behind to beat Santi Cazorla's Oviedo. They are 2 points behind Real Madrid. Right, on with the weekend, and the pick of the games from the Premier League is Newcastle against Arsenal. Arsenal, you'll recall, don't like it up in the northeast. They lost there in February in the semi-finals of the League Cup. They lost there in November last year in the League and in the November the year before that. But they're in good shape this season. They've only conceded 2 goals. They look extremely solid at the back, even if some Arsenal fans wish they were just a little more cavalier at the front. And Newcastle, they haven't exactly started the season with a bang. They've only scored 3 goals. Last week at Bournemouth, they mustered a grand total of 0.2 XG. It was the 3rd league game this season in which they've drawn a blank. They're obviously missing he who shall not be named up front. And it's fair to say that they didn't have the most relaxing of pre-seasons. But is that all that's up with them? George Caulkin has seen so many crises in North East football that he can smell them from miles off. George, is everything all right with the tune?
A year ago, Newcastle were groping for results, and there was a real sense of disquiet in the dressing room after a summer of PSR debacle. There were a couple of moments when Eddie Howe had to hold individual meetings with his players, Alexander Isak included, to remind them of the basics. It's very strange to remember that now, given how last season panned out, but it could have gone a very different way, and for a little while they were certainly nudging crisis. This time, it's not like that. There has been a huge distraction in terms of Isak, but the mood internally has been very positive. There is a caveat in that positivity needs wins in order to thrive, but this is much more like a footballing jigsaw. Newcastle have first been asked to cope with not having a senior centre-forward and are now having to cope with having a very different centre-forward in Nick Walter-Made. There have been a couple of really good, if incomplete, performances at Aston Villa and at home to Liverpool, but like Arsenal, they're also very solid in defence. They've kept 4 clean sheets in their 5 matches. They're a work in progress, but they now have strength in depth right across the pitch. Arsenal are an excellent side, but they often bring out the best from Newcastle. There were those incredible League Cup semi-final victories against them last season, and Howe's team are now seeking their 3rd consecutive Premier League home win against them. As Howe said in his press conference on Friday morning, there has been an edge to those games. We encourage that because the more competitive we are, the better we play. And what he didn't add, the more angry Mikel Arteta gets. Perhaps this will be the match where it all clicks.
You can hear George on the best Newcastle podcast in the business, Pod on the Tyne. The link is in the episode description. Lots of other games to look out for too. The early Saturday kickoff between Brentford and Manchester United is a mustn't lose for both teams. Just the one win for Keith Andrews so far. Some big Saturday threes for a change. When was the last time Chelsea, Liverpool and Manchester City all played in that slot? Enzo Maresca's side have Brighton, who are playing far better than their record suggests. They should definitely have more than 5 points on the board, and come 5 p.m, that may very well be the case. Liverpool hate a trip to Selhurst Park as much as Arsenal hate a trip to St James's Park, and they should be extremely cautious this time because Crystal Palace are unbeaten in 17 games. They could definitely stop them in their tracks. You have to go back to April to find Palace's last defeat, 5-0 to Newcastle. Palace's unbeaten run has already survived an attack from Arne Slot's side, of course. They beat them on penalties to win the Community Shield in August. So are the Eagles confident ahead of this one? Can Palace become the first side since Palace to stop Liverpool winning? Jim Daly, comedian and Palace fan, over to you.
Am I confident? Well, no. Being a Crystal Palace fan, I'm never confident. I've supported them for 33 years and they've let me down many, many times. But Confidence probably is the right word with Oliver Glasner. I mean, he goes into every game believing he can get a result. And actually, his track record in the last 18 months pretty much backs that up, especially against the big teams. And in fact, I think he's only lost once in 4 games against Liverpool. You actually have to go back to February for the last time that we lost a game at home, some 11 games ago or so. And as a result, and I think a lot of the fan base are pretty relaxed with Glasner at the helm. Had he gone this summer, it would have unsettled us way more than Eze leaving or Aguehi leaving, for example. Obviously, Liverpool will probably now win 5-0. But I do think we have a chance in this, let's call it a title-chasing clash. The only 2 remaining unbeaten teams in the league, 2 giants of European football. I'm sure that's what everyone's calling it. Ekitike somehow getting sent off is magic for us, although it does mean that I'm guessing Alexander Isak probably starts, although maybe doesn't play the full game. Maybe that's just me being hopeful. Our biggest problem in the squad at the moment is tiredness. We've got a thin squad, now playing European football. That's our main issue. And as a result, we picked up injuries. But if Ismaila Sarr is back, I think he could cause Kirkes some problems, assuming he plays left back. My biggest problem is I stupidly renewed my passport 2 weeks ago, and it still isn't back yet. And I'm planning on going to watch Palace play in Poland against Dynamo Kiev this Thursday in their first Conference League group game. Pray for me.
And you can find more from Jim on @Jim Daly Comedy on all social platforms, and you can find his website in the episode description. Elsewhere, I don't think Burnley will stop Man City in their tracks, but I'm happy to be proved wrong. Bournemouth haven't been beaten in the league since the opening night at Anfield. They travelled to Leeds. Nottingham Forest Sunderland is your tea time kick-off on Saturday. I have a funny feeling that's going to be a bit of a goal fest, or maybe not so funny, given that it's an Ange team against a Sunderland side that go on the front foot away from home. Tottenham Wolves is your horrendously scheduled Saturday night game, and a pox on whoever's idea that was. And last but not least, Aston Villa face Fulham in the early Sunday game. David Moyes' final vengeance against West Ham is not until Monday night. In the Championship leaders, Middlesbrough are away to Southampton, who've started very slowly under Will Still. Just 1 win all season, and that was on the opening day. Stoke City are second. They play Norwich at home. They are looking to get back on track after they were beaten by QPR last weekend. The bottom of the table, Chris Wilder's Sheffield United go to Oxford in search of their first points of the season. And look out for Watford, because if they don't beat Hull, they may be looking for a new, I can't think of a more unsuitable word, permanent manager. And in the WSL, Arsenal play Villa on Saturday at noon, Liverpool face Manchester United at noon on Sunday, and leaders Chelsea go to West Ham on Sunday at 2:30. In La Liga, brought to UK viewers by the powers of Premier Sports, of course, the Madrid derby is the centrepiece of the weekend. Now, we spoke about that with Dermot Corrigan on yesterday's show, so do check that out if you haven't already. Barcelona face Real Sociedad in the Sunday evening clash, which means Xabi Alonso's side could be 5 points ahead of Barca before they kick off, if of course they win. Third place Villarreal can make their brilliant start even better when they host Athletic Club, who are winless in 4. And rock bottom Girona, they desperately need a win, but they'll do well to get one tonight at home to 4th placed Espanyol. This week's Bundesliga action begins with Bayern Munich hosting Werder Bremen at 7:30 this evening. Harry Kane has scored at least 2 goals in 5 of his 7 appearances for Bayern this season. I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest he's going to do it again. Mainz face Dortmund in an ideal fixture for Jurgen Klopp reminiscence enthusiasts. That's at 2:30, as is 5th place Sao Pauli's clash with Bayer Leverkusen. There are some very intriguing fixtures in Italy this Saturday. Cesc Fabregas's Como versus Jamie Vardy's Cremonese is just a magnificent thing to be able to say, let alone watch. That's on at 2 p.m. with Juventus versus Atalanta, the 5 p.m. kickoff. Now, we were astounded to see Ivan Juric given the Atalanta job, but they remain unbeaten. A win away at Juve would give supporters real belief in him. And the Sunday evening 7:45 slot is a cracker. AC Milan versus Napoli. Catch all of those games on DAZN. There are some tasty-looking Ligue 1 top 6 clashes this weekend, starting with Marseille's trip to Strasbourg tonight. A win will allow Marseille to briefly join the 5 clubs currently on 12 points at the top of the table. One of those clubs, however, is Strasbourg, so if they win, they go 3 points clear at the top. Current league leaders, though they may not be by then, Monaco, they travel to Lorient, and PSG's trip to Auxerre is on Amazon Prime pay-per-view at 8:05 on Saturday night, and I have to say, that's a very ambitious business plan. Pick of the games on Sunday is 3rd versus 5th as Lille face Lyon. And in Scotland, Celtic play Hibs. Hearts, who are level on points with Brendan Rodgers' side, play Falkirk. And all eyes on Livingston on Sunday. They host second bottom Rangers. In the Championship, Blackburn just got spanked by the man. They were 1-0 up after 79 minutes against Ipswich at the weekend, and a man up no less, because Ipswich were down to 10. The game was abandoned due to heavy, and I mean heavy, rainfall. Now, following an independent panel's adjudication, the game will be replayed in full, as if it never happened. It's a painful one for Rovers, but unfortunately it seems precedent dictated the outcome. Speaking as someone whose game of Football Manager crashed after a big win recently, I can say with some confidence that Blackburn fans can reboot it as many times as they like. They're not winning it now. A couple of new contracts to make you aware of. William Saliba has agreed a new 5-year deal with Arsenal. He had 2 years left on the previous one, but the Gunners moved quickly to nix any unwanted Real Madrid free transfer developments. And Rio Ungamoa has signed a 3-year deal, his first professional contract at Liverpool. That's great news for the Reds, but awful news elsewhere as Arne Slot confirmed Giovanni Leone's ACL injury is, as feared, the absolutely devastating variation. He will be out for about a year. That is a cruel blow at such a vital point in a young career. Worse still for him, Slot has already confirmed Liverpool will be signing a centre-back in January. Crystal Palace, name your price. One silver lining for supporters, they do get to see Federico Chiesa play in the Champions League this season because he now replaces Leone in Liverpool's European squad. That was Route 1. It was Football Fast, no faff. It's here every weekday around about 3 p.m. If you like it, like it. If you want to subscribe to it, subscribe to it. And if you do subscribe to it, there's a little bell there that will give you a notification when a new video comes out. Make sure you click that. I've been Iain Macintosh. Your audio producer was Helena Fremantle. Your video editor was Deane Thrussell. Your video producer was Shaun, Nickless. Chris Smith was in the writer's room. Sophie Manners was on socials. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday.